Hello everyone, this is one of my most recent karting races, and although it looked promising, it didn't end up too great. So I'm going to bring you along as we watch the spills, thrills and crashes of this karting race. The track we're racing at today is Daytona Sandown Park, and we're doing a SODI Sprint Race. That means we've got a 10-minute qualifying and a 20-minute race to battle it out to see who can win. This is the qualifying session where we determine our places for the grid. Now I assume what you came here for was the race, so I'm just going to show you my fastest lap and give you a lap rundown of that lap. So this is the last corner of the previous lap before we get to my fastest lap, and here starts the fastest lap. Hit the timer so you can see how fast I am. It starts with a long straight where you get to experience the full speed of these cars, and then turn 1 only shows the speed of the cars better because it's a long right hander which is completely flat out and you feel so many G-forces. Turn 2 is a sharp right hander, which is probably my worst corner of the track because I keep understeering on the entry to it. Turn 3 is a sharp left hander where exit is everything, and I'm still not very good at that. Following turn 3 we have a long straight where you can get some good overtakes if you get a good exit from the previous corner. Then we get to turn 4, which is a left hander which is deceptively quick, while on this qualifying lap I have a slight snap of oversteer. Turn 5 is a flat out long right hander, but its main objective is to lead onto the long back straight afterwards, which is a great place to overtake. Following this straight is turn 6, which you have to brake for again, but then it leads on to turn 7, which is flat out and prepares you for the final corner of the track. Turn 8, which you have to get the exit perfectly right for the longest straight on the track by far. I got a little bit of slipstream to finish the lap, and this lap got me a 54.3 and got me a 9th place grid start in the race. So now we come into the race. I've got the lap counter in the top left and I've got the position counter in the top right. Of course we're on lap 1 right now and I'm starting in P9. As we skip forward to the grid start, we have the 5 red lights all pop up and then they all go green when the race starts, just like in Formula 1. When the light does go green, I initially get a very good start, but the car ahead of me gets a very slow start, which means I get compromised and therefore get a slow start. The person on the very left gets a very bad start and is slower than everyone else around him, including me. As we go into turn 1 I try and stay on the left so that I stay out of any trouble that might occur. But as I come into turn 2 I see the opportunity for a dive bomb, but as I successfully pull off that dive bomb, someone else dive bombs me. I try to defend myself into the next corner, but they're too far ahead and have the better outside line, which means my exit is compromised and they get the overtake done, meaning I retain position in the first half of the first lap. But I realise almost immediately that I have better pace than this guy, because I'm quicker through turn 4 and turn 5 due to his oversteer and understeer. Because of his bad exit of the straight, I think I might be able to get him into turn 6, but I realise I don't have enough straight run speed to get the overtake done there, so I have to wait a bit longer. But as we come into turn 8 I realise there's a perfect opportunity for a switchback, so I go wide into the corner so I can get a fast exit onto the straight, and then after that I can just sail by down the rest of the straight. And the inside line is very much better into turn 1, so I gain that position fully. But I almost give the position back immediately as I make the same mistake as last time and I see his bumper on the inside of me, and I think possibly with a switchback he could get back, overtaking me. But luckily for me I get a good exit onto the straight after turn 3, which means the switchback is not possible. Now this race is 20 minutes long, so I have to try and make my positions as quickly as possible. This means now I've got to press the throttle down and bridge that gap that's already opened so much in the first 1.5 laps. As we come to turn 4 of lap 3, the kart 2 ahead of me spins out, gaining me a free position and moving me up to 7th. So now as I jump to the end of lap 3, you can see I've bridged the gap massively, but me really battling to gain this time means that this lap that you're about to go onto is my fast lap of the race with a 53.7. You can watch it now. So there you go, that's my quickest lap of the entire race, and that's 6/10 quicker than the lap in qualifying, just because of the pressure I had to catch up with these guys. The lap in its whole was a lot cleaner with the only mistake being made in turn 2. But all that hard work was about to be undone as I slowed down way too much in the yellows. I don't know if I was too slow or the karts ahead were too quick, but either way I lost all that time I'd gained and more. And already by the end of lap 5 we were starting to catch up with traffic. This guy wasn't much of an issue, but they could become an issue in future laps because there's no blue flags. But lap 6 is when things could start to go downhill for me. As we come to the following corner, I see there's a yellow flag and that someone's been ejected from their kart, meaning there's an immediate red flag. I stop immediately, but the people behind me don't, and I get overtaken 4 times on the outside and 1 time on the inside, only one of them being a lap kart, dropping me down to 11th position. Eventually, after 5.5 minutes of being stationary, we finally get going again, and I realise how big the gap between the karts ahead of me and myself has become. Because of this very unfortunately timed red flag, my only mission in this race was to get to P9, which is where I started in the race. However, until I can get to P9, there's some big gaps I have to bridge to even have a chance of overtaking. So as we skip a couple laps forwards, I see this guy in the wall and wonder, is that for a position? Have I now got P10? But nope, it's just another lap kart. But in this scenario, whilst I'm in no man's land, I catch up with some lap traffic and actually some contact cars at the exit of this corner. This is because due to the racing line of this corner, neither of us knew where the other one was going to go. On lap 11 I also catch up with this lap traffic, which ends up being quite hard to overtake, maybe losing me time. I think I would get them onto this straight, but actually they get a good exit and have higher speed than me. But I go for the dive bomb and it actually ends up quite well. As we come into the final corner of lap 11 though, this guy was actually in P5 and I overtake him to get P10. He goes down to P12, absolutely ruining his race. But by this late point in the race I can actually see P9 ahead of me, but whilst looking at that I see this back marker make a really good save, as I completely thought they'd lost it. But unfortunately for that back marker I overtake them pretty quickly on the next corner. As we come onto the next lap, lap 13, I can see P9 is ever closer, the one in the white suit, but the back markers are becoming more and more often, which is slowing both of us down. And the back marker ahead of me right now actually causes me a bit of trouble. I think I'll get them in the dive bomb in this corner, but actually I don't, so I'll let you watch as I figure out how to overtake them. As I come into lap 14 there's an unfortunately timed yellow flag when I was planning to overtake them. But someone clearly didn't see that yellow flag, so they just overtook me and the kart ahead of me right in front of the marshal. But on this straight I finally managed to overtake that lap kart, which took me an entire lap. And as we go on to the last lap, through the final corner I overtake that lap kart which overtook me under yellows earlier. The final lap was quite an uneventful one. As I come to the final corner to cross the line I finished 10th in a race which I could have easily finished 7th or above considering the kart that crashed out. Anyways, thank you for watching this race rundown, and for more bad karting content, then subscribe.